Hi everybody, my name is Camilla Collins and I'm a hairstylist and makeup artist. So I'm a bit barefaced today because I'm going to do a tutorial for you, and the lovely Catherine Davies has asked me to give you some tips and tricks for your busy working mums. So hopefully you'll find this all helpful. I'm fresh out the shower, it's the morning, so I'm getting ready to start my day. And to be honest, I don't want to be spending hours doing my makeup, so I'm going to show you a few time-saving tips and tricks as well, and also yeah, just a bit of advice really, and experimenting with a bit of colour as well. So I've cleansed, toned and moisturised, and I've let that settle for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to go in and put my base on now. Now I always prefer to keep two very different foundations. So one, okay, this is rather extreme, but this is a very light one here, and this is a very dark one here. But I always advise people to have at least one sort of 2 shades lighter than your skin and 2 shades darker, and that way you're covered throughout the whole year. So if you go on holiday and you get a tan, or in the winter you're a bit paler, or you're just having a bit of a rough day and you're not feeling so great, then you might just, you know, lose a bit of coloration. So it's always good, and that way you'll be covered, and you will use both of them. It is obviously a bit more of an outlay at first, but you know, you will get through them, and you can mix the quantities together for however much you need. Okay, so I'm going to be using this brush here for my foundation, which I love. It's a Real Techniques brush, and it's a really good kind of buffing brush, as opposed to this foundation brush here, which aren't so great because you kind of get these swiping movements across your face. So they're not ideal. So if you can invest in a brush, I would definitely go for this one, or something similar, a stippling brush, or blending brush as we call them. If you're using latex sponge wedges, they're not great because they do soak up a lot of product, so it's not ideal because you will be wasting a lot of product. Some people just use their hands, of course that's fine too, but I think the most ideal way would be using one of these brushes here. So I'm just going to squeeze out a bit of foundation onto this brush. I've just literally plonked 2 colours on there, but whatever foundation you're using is fine. And I'm starting in the middle of my face, just so it's easier to blend out. Now this does look like a lot of product, but it's really not. Once it's on, once it's blended in, I think ideally you want to get a really good coverage to start with, and that's what's going to last you the whole day. When you do put it on, it obviously looks a lot more, but it will settle into the skin. Give it sort of 10 to 20 to half an hour. So you're better off starting with a good base in the first place. So I'm just sort of blending this with circular motions, buffing all that foundation in. Make sure I get under the eye there. Great. So don't worry if you look like a ghost, like I do now, because we will be doing a bit of contouring and bringing all that warmth back in. But what we want to do is get a nice clean base on that we know is going to last the whole day. So I'm just going to put a little bit of concealer under my eyes. I'm just going just on that ridge there, so I don't want to cover this bit here, just where the darker lines are. And I'm just, you can either pat it in with your finger like so, or I'm just going to use this brush just to blend it in. And that will just clean up your under eye area. and brighten it up a little bit. Perfect. So now for a bit of contour. So I've got this little contour palette here, which has got 2 shades for contouring and 2 shades for highlighting. So it's a great little palette with a good mix, so you can have a bit more of, well, a few more options really. Other palettes kind of similar to this one, which literally just have a shading colour and a highlighter. So those are great too. So I'm just going to take my brush, which is, it's quite actually a fluffy brush. Maybe slightly too big. If you can get hold of an angled brush, which I don't appear to have with me right now, they're good for hollowing in the cheekbones here and just getting a really good edge and precision of where you're putting your contour. So I'm just kind of mixing these 2 colours together, and the idea is, obviously we all like cheekbones, so I'm going to shade underneath the cheekbones. I'm also going to go across the top of the forehead, and this is great if you have quite a large forehead or quite a high forehead, then this will sort of reduce the appearance or reduce the surface area. I always think it's quite nice to do it anyway, as it gives you a bit of a like sun-kissed glow. So like when you go on holiday and you get maybe a little bit too much sun on the top of your head, you just look nice and healthy. So I always do that on most clients and on myself. I'm going to go under the jawline just very lightly, not too much, and what that's going to do is help project the face forward. Again, if you've got quite a square jaw, then that's definitely one for you to do. Again, it will kind of shave off the edges a bit like the forehead. And I'm going to go under the nose, and also you can shade along this area here, which will make your nose appear thinner. So I'll do all the contouring today, but obviously pick and choose what you want or what you feel that you need. You don't have to do it all at all. And so we're going in for this depression here. So if you suck your cheeks in, it often helps. You see it there, or you can feel with your fingers. And I'm sort of starting in the middle, and I'm doing these little circular kind of movements, but in that kind of direction. And I'm going right up into the hairline because I don't want to end up with a line there where it stops. So I'm being careful not to go above here, and I don't want to go too far down here. See where that comes out. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Again, up into that hairline so it's blended nicely. And blend it off there. Now again, for the top of the head, and under the chin. So I'm just going to graze along there. So I'm just rubbing the brush. Definitely lift your chin up so you can see what you're doing and you don't end up with a line across there. So I'm just grazing the brush along. And hopefully, I probably should have done one side and shown you, but hopefully you can see how that's really defined the shape of my face and sort of projected it forward. Okay, a little bit under the nose, so actually this will make the nose shorter by putting some under there, but I often think it's quite cute to have a little bit of colour there. So that's just a little bit on me. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to squeeze my fingers on this brush. Ideally, if you had even a brush like, actually that's not so thin, a little angle brush or something like that, which is thinner, you can get in there and you have much better precision. But I'm sure we don't all have loads of brushes at our expense, so I'm just going to squeeze this and kind of make it flat, and then I'm just going to gently pat a bit of this colour on so you can see there. And so that goes right up to there. I think you can see down there where it's shaded. Okay, great. So next step. This is a tinted eyeliner by Bobbi Brown, but it's exactly the same as something like Touche Eclat, or sort of highlighting pens. Lots of brands do them now. So these are good for highlighting, particularly the cheekbones, but you can use them in other areas too. So what we want to do is we all want a more youthful appearance. So anywhere the face, sort of the depressions, we want to bring forward. So if you think about it, as you age, you get these grooves in your nose. You get sort of everything kind of goes inwards. Your chin here, everything sort of sinks back. So we want to bring everything forward. So I've just put a bit of this on my hand here, and I'm just patting it with my finger. And I think what I'll do is I'll do half my face so you can see the difference. So I'm literally just patting that in. This has got light reflectors in it as well, so it will give you a nice bit of radiance without being too shimmery. And I'm just patting that in using this finger, as you can't, it's hard to press too hard with this finger. And then that's just going up here and just along the cheekbone. And I'm just going to pat it all the way along and down here, just so it kind of all smoothly joins up. I'm also going to pop a bit on my eyebrow. Sorry, not my eyebrow, my brow bone underneath my eyebrow. And you can see how much that gives a lift there. So hopefully, if I sort of look at that side compared to that side, you can see it's a lot brighter. And then what you can do is, without putting any more product on your brush, you'll still have a bit of bronzer sort of left over, because you might lose a bit of this, is just buff it all in. So I'm going to do the same, actually I'm going to do down the centre of the nose as well, and also the same on the other side. So by putting some down the centre of the nose, you're just highlighting that part and bringing it more forward, which means you're going to actually make your nose even thinner. So if you're after that, then that's definitely a good tip for you. If you're not, then you probably don't want to shade around this area, and you perhaps just want to pop a bit of highlighter down the centre of the nose and into the centre of the forehead. I'm just patting that on again with my finger. Great. I'm actually just going to get my foundation brush and I'm just going to blend that. So I haven't put any more product on it. It's probably just going to have a bit left on it anyway. And just blending that all in so it's not too sharp. And again, just dusting that brush over to make sure there's no lines there. Great. Now for a pop of blush on the cheeks. So yeah, I mean, depends obviously what you want to use. This is sort of a pinky colour. I quite like the coral sort of peachy tones. They're quite nice and warm. I guess it sort of depends on your skin tone really, and what your preference is, and depending on what look you're going for. But yeah, this is quite a warm pink, and I'm only going to use a tiny little bit, and I just want to put it on the apples of my cheeks. So if I smile, that's the area we're going for. So not up here, you don't want to really interfere with there, and you don't want to go down here either, as you'll end up like, well, looking like you've been in the cold for a rather long time. So I'm just going to smile, and I'm just dusting a little bit on there, and then I'm flicking it up just so it kind of blends in with that line there. And again, so it totally depends on your preference. Some people like lots of blusher, some people don't, but don't go mad. And if you do put a bit too much product on, depending on how much, obviously if it's loads, you'll have to sort of try and wipe it off. But you can just go in with your foundation brush again, and you should be able to blend off any sort of, if you end up with big kind of circles here. So there we go. So you still got your contour there, and you just got a bit of a rosiness in the cheeks, which is quite nice and pretty, and makes you look healthy as well. So next on, eyebrows. Super important, and a lot of people forget or just don't think that's important, and they really are. So your eyes are your windows, the window to your soul, and the eyebrows really do frame sort of the whole face. So I'm just using this little brush here, and I'm just brushing them in an upward direction. Great. Now, what you really need for this is an angled brush. So this is actually a neat little kit I've got here. This is my eyebrow kit. So we've got a bit of wax on this side, 2 colours shading, and then there's a bit of highlighter there which will go on that brow bone. But otherwise, if you've got an angled brush, even like a longer one, but what we want to do is really mimic the hair movement. So it's not a case of kind of smearing it all on. We want to do it in little tiny strokes so it almost looks like hair. I'm not a fan of pencils because I find them they're quite dark, and you haven't got that much of an option really with it. Whereas with the powders, again, I've got 2 shades here anyway, but even if I just had the one, I could just wet the brush and go back in, and it would make it slightly darker. So it's just a bit of a softer look, and it just means you have more control over the sort of the eyebrow look that you're creating. So I'm just doing this in tiny little motions. I'm not creating anything new here. I'm literally just defining my own eyebrows. So can you see already how much of a difference that has made? I really sort of lifted my face and opened up my eyes, and it's literally taken me about 2 seconds. So I've got quite straight eyebrows actually. They're not my favourite feature, but I'm just going to go slightly above to get a bit more of an arch. So if anything, you always want to kick up a little bit above. You never want to take it further down here, because we always want to lift as much as we can. And I'm just extending it out ever so slightly, so a tiny little bit there, so just to elongate them, but I don't want it flicking up that way, and I don't want it sort of coming down here either, so it's just outwards ever so slightly. And I'll do the same on the other side. I'm just going along that top there, making it a little bit higher. Now don't worry, because no one has dead even eyebrows, and your eyebrows are not meant to be twins, they're meant to be sisters. So obviously you want the general sort of same shape, but they don't have to be identical. In fact, if they did look completely identical, it would just look weird. I'm just thickening. It's a lot thinner this side, so I've just thickened that out a bit. And you can just check in the mirror, check they look pretty even. And then I'm just going to elongate that ever so slightly out there. And that's done. And I always think you just look so much more put together if your eyebrows are on. So obviously it's a great little trick to do generally in everyday life, particularly, you know, if you're running out the door and you're a bit late and you're off to an important interview or meeting, then make sure you get your eyebrows on and a good lashing of mascara, and that should do you good. Okay, so I don't know if you can see actually as well that base that I put on earlier is, along with the contouring and everything, but it is settling in a lot. So I know it looked like quite a lot of product that I put on, but it does sink in a little bit, and is looking a lot more sort of blended now, and a lot better. So I'm going to show you another really cute little trick. which is pretty much what I use on a daily basis. I don't actually do my eye makeup that often. What it is it's just contouring this little bit here, which is in your crease. So again, I've got my contour colour here. I'm just going to dip this brush in. Again, if you had a smaller angled brush, like I said earlier, that would be good. And I'm just going to close my eyes and I'm going to put the brush on the corner and I'm just going to sweep out like that. I don't know if you can see, but that's given a really nice little shadow in the crease there. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm really not being too precious with it. I'm just placing the brush on the sort of on the end here and just sweeping it out. So if you're in a hurry, that is probably your best option to do. And it almost, yeah, it does look like you've got eye makeup on. You can build it up and go darker as much as you like. But what I will show you today is just a sort of soft, natural eye makeup look. I personally would stay away from any blacks. They are quite aging. If they fall down or they sort of drop down on your eyes, then you're going to end up looking really tired. I think brown is a much softer option. So I'm just going to use this brush here. So I'm talking about these kind of colours here. So these sort of cashmere taupey kind of tones are great, and this one here to use in your shadow. But the best way is to work with 3 colours, and I'm going to use this one at the top for highlighting. So I'm just putting a base colour on, which it's very natural. It's this one here. It's not too different to the contour kind of shade, as you can see when it goes on. I'm literally just washing that all over the lid. Like so. And then I'm going to go in with that lighter colour here and I'm going to use that to highlight. So this hasn't got any shimmer on it, but you can add a little bit of shimmer if you want. It's just a paler colour. So you can see how that's really sort of kicked out the brow bone there. And then what I'm going to do with, ideally if you've got a blending brush, I'm going to use this one here. It's kind of, it's not really dome shaped, this is dome shaped. So that's kind of ideal really. But something like this sort of size, quite rounded. And I'm just going to use a bit of this darker colour here and use it very sparingly. And I'm just going to use it on the crease there and just on the outer corners. So I'm just swirling that in there. I'm going to close my eye just so you can see where I'm placing the brush. So it's there. And I'm just going to do circular motions. So I'm going like this, just on that crease in the corner. And I'm just bringing it about halfway across the eye. You can see there. And I can even open my eye and just keep that brush a little bit wedged into my eye socket. And that's how we get that sort of line there. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on. And there we go. You can see it's given a nice soft effect. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm just blending that now across. a little bit darker on that corner, so I'm just going to put a little pop more there. Great. And then I'm going to go back in with the exact same colours I used before, so this one all across the lid. And what this is going to do, well, across the lid up to there, it's going to, if you've got any harsh edges where it hasn't quite blended together, this should take all that away. And I'm going to do the highlighter colour again. And again, this will help to blend off if you've got a bit of a harsh edge there. It will just help to blend that all in. And there we go. And then back with using my angle brush, you can line under the eyes. I'm not a fan of kohl pencil, but I do understand that a lot of people are totally attached to their kohl pencil, which is fine. I just find it gets all gammy in the middle of the eye and it gets caught up there. And it doesn't look very clean. So what I prefer to do is using a darker colour, so I'm literally just going to use that same shade again that I use for here, with an angle brush, and I'm just going to go into the lash line as opposed to the waterline. I'm just going to bring it about halfway across, maybe about 2/3 of the way across. And just up a bit again to meet the shadow. And that just sort of lines your eyes nicely. Next step, mascara. Sorry, my squeaky jaws. So always starting at the top here. Always starting at the bottom rather. I'm going mad. So again, a good helping of mascara. There are definitely better mascaras than others. So if it's quite not quite a weak one and doesn't lift, then go on with a couple of layers if you can. See my eye watering as I've just poked myself in my eye. That should clear up. If that does happen, best thing, look up, blink. There we go. And then I'm just going to use the highlighter that was actually in my contour palette here, just to give a bit of shimmer on the cheekbones, but obviously totally optional. But sometimes it just gives you a nice little glow, so you can see on that side. My my blusher even had a bit of a shimmer in anyway. That's just a bit extra. Great. And then lastly, lips. Now lips is totally obviously your preference, what you want to wear. I'm just wiping off the foundation that was around there. I tend to prefer to use kind of nudes with a lip liner, always with a lip liner. It always, well, it makes sure that your lipstick sort of stays in place, and also because lipstick wears off a lot quicker, at least your lip liner will stay on a lot longer, so you can just kind of fill in or even add a bit of Vaseline just to reactivate the colour. So yeah, some people, you know, love to wear a bold red lip, and that's fab. I do too as well, and also sometimes pinks. It just depends what mood I'm in, but there's no major colour that I say to shy away from at all. If you've got dark eyes, then I'd probably go a lot lighter on the lips, but if you've got something that's quite soft, even something like this, or even if you just did the contour trick, then a dark red or a deep berry red or even a pillar box bright red would look great with that. But obviously it depends if you're off to an interview or something, it depends who you're going to see. So it's all down to personality, I think. So I'm going to use this lip liner here, which is called Nice and Spicy from MAC. And then I'm going to pop on actually I'm going to use this one here. Oops. So this is quite a neutral shade. It's from Urban Decay. It's called Interrogate. So it is fairly dark. My favourite, ultimate favourite one is this one here, which is very peachy. It's called Unicorn by Urban Decay. But it's quite girly, which is quite nice and probably good if you had heavier eyes. But I think this one would be good for a business day. So there you go. That is everything, and we've gone way over 30 minutes as well. But you know, with practice, it shouldn't take you long at all to get in the cycle with this in the morning. Literally, it sort of takes me about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I guess I'm doing my eyes. But as I say, there's that neat little trick there that you can do with the contour, which should make it a lot easier for you. So anyway, have a fabulous time playing around, and of course if you've got any questions then please do not hesitate to ask. I'm more than happy to answer any questions for you, but I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope you found it useful, and yeah, go get them. If you're for any interviews or you're starting a new job, then good luck and I hope it goes well. All right, take care, bye.